Hello.
Hello. Good morning. Hi, I'm Leslie,
I'm Stephanie.
and we are the Hand Readers Guild. And we're here to talk to you about something really interesting today. We are going to show you how to look at someone's hand and notice if they're telling you the whole truth or not. But before we get started on that, we just want to tell you a little bit about us. We are the Hand Readers Guild. We are all about hand analysis and fingerprint analysis and teaching everybody and sharing that with the world because we are hand geeks and fingerprint geeks. And we have a YouTube channel, which you might be watching us there now. And we also have a Facebook group, the Hand Readers Guild Forum, which you are free to join. And we stream these videos live both to YouTube and to Facebook, either to our Hand Readers Guild Forum page or our business page, which is just called Hand Readers Guild. And you'll see links to those beneath these videos. You are welcome to leave comments for us either during the our stream or later, and we're happy to answer your questions. Our group has lots of good diagrams about learning different things about hands.
Mm-hmm.
And one more thing before we get going, and I'm going to let Stephanie tell you about our disclaimer.
Our disclaimer, hey, we are live. We don't edit these videos, so whatever goes on in our life, because we're streaming from home, of course. We have some animals. We got some dogs. I got some kids.
Yeah, so every once in a while there's a little disruption, and we don't
Things
edit
will
them
happen.
out.
Yep.
So we just laugh, and we hope you'll laugh with us. And if you like our videos on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up or subscribe. And like I said, you can join our group. And let's talk now about hands. So here we're going to start our slideshow, honest or not. And we're going to talk about ways you can see what somebody is, if they're being straight with you or not, by looking at certain communication markers in the hand. So the first place we're going to look is at what we call the Mercury finger. It's your pinky. It's your pinky. So the pinky is named for Mercury, who in mythology was the winged messenger. And he is said to have been the inventor of the alphabet. Did you know that?
Yes, I did know that one.
Oh, good.
Yay for me.
He's also known as a trickster.
Yes.
So interesting enough that words are actually associated, words and messages are associated with the trickster god.
Mm-hmm.
And Mercury had 3 sons. And I think this is part of his myth that maybe not everybody knows about. But he had 3 sons. And interestingly, we have 3 sections on our fingers, 3 phalanges. So his 3 sons were Autolycus, who was famous for perjury or lying. And that's associated with the top section of your pinky. Myrtilus, who was known for bribery, and that's associated with the middle section of the pinky. And Pan, people are more familiar with Pan. He was known for his amoral lustfulness, and that is associated with the bottom phalange of your pinky. Now, we're not going to talk about Pan very much today and that bottom phalange, but just as a little aside, in case you are curious, you might remember, if you're a little older like us, that it used to be considered anyone who wore pinky rings was, and here's mine, was out looking for a good time. So that's the part of the pinky that's associated with Pan. We do have an entire video on rings and what it means when you wear rings on each finger. Mm-hmm. So if you're curious about that, you might go check out that video. So now, just because each of these phalanges is associated with one of those sons of Mercury who was not necessarily a great, who were kind of like dishonest in all of their dealings, doesn't mean that the entire pinky has to do with dishonesty. Certainly the top section has to do with ideas, sharing information,
gathering information,
curiosity, all of those good things about listening, information in, information out.
Mm-hmm.
The middle section is called the strategy zone, and that has to do with business people, influencing, convincing, negotiating.
Yeah.
Can you think of other words that have to do with the strategy zone?
Compromise.
Right. That's a great one. So
Mm-hmm.
not only bribery.
Right. Well, and manipulating a little bit. Yeah.
Right. Not just that. And
Yeah.
then, so anyway, there's all kinds of good message type, associations with this pinky. So it has nothing to just those three suns doesn't mean that the pinky's all bad. Now, this is a nice straight pinky.
This is a very nice pinky.
This is a really nice pinky. This is one of the nicest pinkies I have in my collection of scanned handprints.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty straight. It's completely even in how thick it is in all three phalanges.
Mm-hmm.
It shows up. It's well seated in the hand. And the proportions are pretty correct. In most pinkies, in most of our fingers, all three phalanges are kind of the same length, except for the pinky. The pinky is typical that the top phalange and the bottom phalange are the same height, and the middle phalange is often a little bit shorter. Now, in somebody with a really long pinky, they might all be all three the same.
Mm-hmm.
And I do have some hand examples like that, but for the most part, the middle section is a little shorter.
Yeah.
And you'll see a little bit later why I'm pointing that out. So, like I said, nice straight pinky. This person, they're probably going to be pretty straight in what they're telling you.
Mm-hmm.
This is a really, really nice example. So compare that to this one. That's a pretty curvy pinky.
Mm-hmm.
The top section is pretty big. The middle section, this kind of looks like somebody pulled its belt in. It's wearing a girdle.
It's tight times.
Right. So that's that strategy zone, right?
Right. Yeah.
So what would you say about the strategy zone that's looking a little pinched?
I'm thinking it's going to be something about it themselves and tightening up the belt strings or tightening up their negotiating.
Right. They may not feel that comfortable stepping out in the negotiation field. Like
Maybe
when it comes time to ask for a raise, they might not be very good at it.
No. Yeah.
And yes, and it feels a little bit like it's not strong enough to hold up that top section, which is kind of tipping over.
Yep. They got big ideas, but their negotiations are letting them down.
Right. And so when the tip of the finger is tipping over like that, especially as it's tipping towards the rest of the hand, we often say that's around trust issues. Isn't that correct?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Now, here's the problem when somebody doesn't trust. They often think other people are not to be trusted.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they may not trust themselves, and they may not. So if somebody isn't very trusting, that it kind of makes sense that they don't feel safe negotiating with somebody else.
Right. Yeah.
Because they're not going to trust that they're telling them the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a fairly curved finger.
Yeah.
So one thing I want to just backtrack and mention is that each of these is one single aspect of the hand. And we cannot tell from looking at a bent pinky whether the person is intentionally withholding information or if they have had a bad experience that makes them feel unsafe, or what are some other scenarios why somebody might not?
A slight trauma, or never had they didn't have the support when they were children, or it's possible it could be many things.
Right. They might have a speech impediment. I mean, there's so many reasons. So just want to mention that as we're going through this video, pointing out markers in the hand that show where communications may be incomplete, that there are many, many, many reasons why that might happen. and we have to look at the entire hand to really know the whole story. So don't like look at your spouse's finger and go, hey, you've been lying to me.
You're not telling me the truth.
Right. We don't want to do that. We're definitely not doing that.
No.
No. So now let's look at an even more extreme example. This
Extreme.
oh my goodness, this one is extreme. This is maybe one of the curviest pinkies I've seen.
And it's way far away from all of the other fingers.
Oh
too.
yeah, it just is like almost falling off the hand, isn't it?
Yeah.
So this poor finger is definitely having some trouble playing well with others.
Yes.
So the curvier the finger is, the more chance there is that there might be some manipulation happening. Now, it may be that the person is manipulative. It may be that they've been manipulated. But when there's this level of manipulation going on, the person is likely to see the whole world as manipulative. And trust is not going to be one of their strong points.
Right.
It's a little sad in a way.
Big trust issues.
Yes. 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 So you might see something like this in the hands of somebody who's a conspiracy theorist.
Oh, yeah.
Or who's paranoid.
Mm-hmm.
And again, there'll be other markers in the hands. You cannot take a single aspect of what you're looking at and make a proclamation. This is why we look at an entire hand when we're looking to analyze. But these are still very, very interesting things to look at.
Right.
So here we have another curved pinky. It's curved in a different direction. It kind of curves in two directions, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a little wavy.
It's a little wavy. It's a little wavy. All right. So now I want to look at, we talked about that strategy zone earlier. So this is why I wanted to mention that. So we mentioned how the top and bottom phalanges tend to be equal. In this person's, and the middle phalange tends to be a little shorter. This person has a little bit of an inverse going on here. Their middle phalange is super tall.
Yeah. And
their bottom phalange looks like they stole some of the real estate from it for the middle.
Yeah.
So this person has a nice straight pinky, and it all shows up. There's no skinny or fat phalanges in general. It's pretty solid and solidly seated in the hand. This person might be someone who would excel in sales, for instance, or business, or banking, doing the negotiations. They might be great at trading stocks. What else might they be good at with a negotiations? A hostage negotiator.
Yeah, that would be a good one. That was what I was just on my mind.
Yeah, we don't think of those too often. Hopefully, we don't need them too often.
We don't have to. Yeah,
but this would show skills in the area of negotiation. They would definitely be good because the extra height in that phalange. Now,
broker.
What's that?
Like a broker?
Yeah, a broker.
Yeah.
Right? Someone who, say you want to hire somebody to broker a deal for you. This person is probably going to work in your best interest.
A mediator.
A mediator. A mediator is a great one, right?
Yeah.
For any kind of mediation.
Any kind of mediation.
Right. Counseling, any kind. So yeah, this is a very good sign for all of those types of jobs and roles in the world. Now, if this finger were bent, or that middle section were either super fat or that was super skinny and choked, we would worry about this person's negotiation skills. They would be much more like Mercury's son, Myrtilus,
right,
who was involved in bribery. You might be looking then at an unscrupulous business person or a con man, right? If that top section, if the mid had a long middle section and it would say it was overly fat and then the top section bent over.
Oh yeah.
Then I would say, I don't know that I would trust this person's negotiations.
Mm-hmm.
But this person, as this hand stands, I would say they're pretty trustworthy.
Yes.
All right. Oh, there we go. Sorry. I just wanted to show you a little better how the size difference is between the lower phalange and the middle one. It's definitely stolen a little bit from the bottom real estate. All right, we're going to move on from the Mercury finger and talk about our thumb, because the two sections of our hands that we look at to see about whether someone's being straight with you are on opposite sides of the hand, the pinky and the thumb. The middle fingers are less involved. So we're looking at the two outer fingers. So here's our thumb. So I have a nice little illustration here showing you the sections of the thumbs that we're going to be looking at. And thumbs are super important. We have a whole video on thumbs.
Yes.
And we have a lot of diagrams about thumbs in our Facebook group if you're interested in thumbs.
Yes. That's not.
Thumbs, you know, it's makes us human, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Our thumbs. So the sections of the thumbs that we're going to be concerned with are the bottom phalange, where it meets your palm, and the middle one. And if you're at all familiar with the system of the chakras, which are the 7 energy centers in the body from some Sanskrit, the word chakra is Sanskrit. The bottom section of your thumb corresponds to the throat chakra, which has to do with all forms of expressing yourself. So, yes, thank you. Thank you. So, expressing yourself, meaning you're sharing what you're thinking, sharing your feelings, sharing your opinions, but also creative expression is part of what we talk about with expression.
Singing, poems, whatever,
right.
you know, singing, poetry is like verbal singing. So,
yes, it is.
So, like being out in front or being able to say things out in the world, just out.
Right. Right.
Or keeping it all in and choking yourself.
Right. When we're going to show you examples of both.
Yes, exactly.
So now the size of that throat chakra section of your thumb is important. In terms of the height, it should be about 1/4 to 1/3 of an inch in height. I've seen mine is somewhere between 1/3 and 1/2. Mine's probably a little on the big side, a tall side. As I was making this slide, I was pulling out my ruler and measuring. So too small, too short. When we say small, too short, the person is not expressing themselves well. They're keeping some stuff to themselves. Too tall, and they may have diarrhea of the mouth. They like to talk, or they might be sticking their foot in their mouth a lot because they just keep going on and on.
There's nobody turning it off up there.
Right. And I have seen some that are extremely tall, where it's stealing from the middle zone.
Mm-hmm.
Just like that other hand we looked at with the long strategy zone was stealing from the base phalange in the pinky. So the line, the middle section is known as the wisdom zone. The wisdom zone has to do with making choices. It's your awareness. It's how you take things in and process them and then make sense of them in the world and then make choices for yourself based on what you know.
Mm-hmm.
And if we were going to compare that to a chakra, it would be your third eye. So it's kind of taking stuff in. Just up there, just right around the brain. So now that also, can have challenges if it's too small or too big. And then we have the line that separates the throat and the wisdom zone. And this is called the line of discernment. And what is discernment? Discernment is knowing
right or wrong,
or when to do stuff and when not to.
Yep.
Again, it has a lot to do with your choices.
When to act, when not to act.
Right. Now, when you think about that being the border between expressing and awareness, if it's important for you to know when to keep your mouth shut and when to
When to
so
speak up. Yep.
if someone has a tall throat chakra and no line of discernment, they're definitely going to be suffering from foot and mouth.
Hmm. Speak up or shut up.
Right,
That's what
right.
it
So
says.
we're going to show you a couple of examples so that it'll make more sense.
Hmm.
This is a hand that has a very nicely balanced uh, s- throat and wisdom zone and a pretty good line of discernment.
Fairly
So,
good. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So we see a lot of bad ones.
Yes.
So this is
This
actually pretty good.
yes.
Yes. So this has got a nice sized throat section and a good line of discernment. It makes it all the way across
Hmm.
the thumb. And like I said, the thumb is well seated. Nothing is choked looking. Everything looks pretty healthy. There's a couple of horizontal lines across the wisdom section. And when we talk about lines on the fingers, vertical lines going up and out
Yep.
on the fingers are energy moving up and out into the world. Horizontal lines are a little bit like speed bumps. They slow things down.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's a couple there, but they're not huge and they're not super deep and they don't make it all the way across the hands. So in terms of horizontals on the wisdom zone, that's your place of judgment, good judgment. So when you have um horizontals, it may be that you doubting some of your judgment or you're judging yourself. These are not horrible. I wouldn't spend a lot of time emphasizing these if I
No.
were doing a reading for this person.
Nope. Not too much.
Nope. Okay. Now, here's a handprint I pulled out because that throat chakra. Look at that. That poor thing. It is squashed in both directions. It's not very tall. It certainly isn't making it to a quarter inch.
No.
And it looks like somebody took a rope and and choked it. Like pulled a belt in and just choked it. It's just it's almost non-existent. It's
Hmm.
really, and that's a fairly meaty hand. So when you look at this hand, it's the thing that really stands out because the rest of the hand has got a lot of flesh.
Hmm.
Those fingertips and the palm are pretty fleshy, but that little throat area in the thumb is really hurting.
Yeah.
So what would you say about this person?
They are not speaking what they need to say. They're not speaking their truth.
No,
They're
they're
not
they
speaking up.
they are
They're
definitely
shutting up.
holding something in.
Yes. They're just shutting it up. It'll just get through. We'll just get through it. If I just say,
Right.
tighten the ropes and let's just go.
Right,
Get
right,
through it.
right. This person's having a little hard time there.
Yes.
And, of all their fingers too, that pinky looks a little bit like a lollipop.
Yeah. I was going to say that negotiation part is kind of small.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the bottom part is pretty small too. The top part is really top heavy.
Yep.
Really top heavy.
I'm taking it
So,
all in. I'm taking it all in. There's no way to get it out.
right. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So let's look at another one. This hand I put up here because the line of discernment clearly does not make it all the way across the thumb.
Hmm.
And I would say that throat section's a little tall, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
It's on the tall side. So this might be one of those people who's having the foot and mouth. They might speak before they think. They might express opinions or they might not, or at other times might hold back.
Hmm. Yes. When they should be saying something, they don't. And when they should not be saying something, they absolutely are just like, oh.
Right. And when we add that with a little bit of curve in the pinky,
Yep.
they're definitely having a little bit of trouble.
Hmm.
And I don't know in this hand if I would look at it and say that there's a lot of deliberate. Because one of the other things I'm noticing about this hand, do you see it? It's got Tundra Syndrome.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so Tundra Syndrome has to do with this part of your hand over here. This is known as the Mount of the Moon. And when there's lines in the rest of the hand, but the mound of the moon is a little empty, it's
Like
like
this one, pretty empty.
it's pretty empty.
Yeah.
We would say that's a tundra, meaning it's like there's nothing there. It's the frozen tundra.
Yep.
Because the moon has to do with your it, and it's contributes to your knowing, right? It's
Mhm.
your intuitive knowing. It's where you get the gut feeling. It's where you taking information, but you can't quite put
Mhm.
your finger on how it got there.
Yeah.
And we have a whole video on the moon,
Yes.
if this is something that interests you.
I would say this person might be a little over exaggerating of things, perhaps.
Could be.
Yeah, they're a good storyteller.
Right,
Is
right,
that a real thing or is that really a thing?
right. Well, and it could be that they are overcompensating for
Right.
something.
That's what I would say. A little
Yeah,
overcompensating. So the
there's
exaggeration is like a overcompensation at
it's
times.
overcompensation for some doubts they may have about themselves,
Yes. Yeah.
or some feeling like they have to, they have to shut down part of who they are,
Right. Don't
because
tell
the
me that.
inner voice part is definitely a little shut down.
Mhm. Like a wall. There's a wall that kind of separates us.
Or a
Anyway, yeah.
frozen tundra.
Right.
The frozen tundra. So so they may actually be overcompensating for parts of themselves that they're a little afraid to look at.
Mhm.
Okay, we're going to go back to this hand with the pinky falling off on the side, that super curved pinky.
Yeah.
Because what I want to point out here is that the wisdom zone in this person's hand, on top of that pinky being so curved,
Mhm.
at the wisdom zone, it looks like somebody like munched it, like an alligator came and chomped it off.
Yeah.
And one of the things we've mentioned in other videos is that when we do these prints, we've been doing them a long time, and we have a technique, and we print them and we print them again and we print them again. And
Mhm.
because if parts of the hand isn't showing up, we print it again, we put on more ink and we print it again. And if it continually doesn't print, that is not a bad print.
Right.
That is an energetic, oops, we're not showing up in the world.
Mhm.
And so we throw out any that are the anomalies, and we keep the ones that repeat the message.
Yep. As
So,
with some parts that print darker than others too.
right, exactly. There's a lot that we learn from how the hand prints.
Mhm.
Well, this one, the wisdom zone is not showing up. So, what do we say about the wisdom zone earlier? This is how you make choices. You take in information and you kind of mix it in with what you already know, and then you get to make choices in the world.
Mhm.
Well, when you look at a hand that's got a super curved pinky like this, which we said could be, in the manipulation zone or the feeling manipulated zone,
Mhm.
and then you've got the wisdom zone disappearing,
Yes.
we could say that this person is having an easier time manipulating their way through life than actually taking responsibility for their choices.
Mhm.
And if you look, the responsibility finger, which is the middle finger,
It's curved.
is also fallen. Yeah, it's
It,
fallen over.
it's falling over.
Yeah, so this person's having a little bit of a hard time. And again, we can't say whether we don't know anything about their motivation or their history just from looking at this print. So we're not judging them. We're just saying this is what we see.
This is what we see. This could be helpful to them.
To make changes to their life.
Mhm. Redirection.
Right.
Or just acknowledging that that's part of their personality.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. So how many times when you're reading for somebody and you talk about some of the challenges they have, that do they cry?
Most of the time.
Yeah.
I've had a couple of people actually just walk out.
You have?
I have.
Oh my gosh, I've never had that happen.
So I have to make sure what I'm saying. It's probably the way I said it, or it was just too much for them that I went right to that point. So I'm a little
Wow.
more concerning
Because I
discerning about that.
I have people cry all the time because
Oh yeah.
it's for the most part when I very one of the things that doing this work has taught me is that most of the people aren't just bad people.
No, they're not bad.
They're just wounded.
Mhm.
And yeah, so we're not here judging this person.
Nope, not one bit.
Right.
Yeah.
Just want to emphasize that.
Yeah.
Now, here's the opposite. In this person's hand, the wisdom zone is extra wide. It's
yeah.
bulging. It's bulging. It is very, very thick. It's wider than the throat area or even the upper part of their finger, which tends to be the most fleshy part of the thumb.
Mm-hmm.
When someone's wisdom zone is bulging like this, we call that the know-it-all. I want to display everything I know in the world. Look, I'm spreading it out. I know about this.
Here's
and
my
I know
knowledge.
about this.
Right.
And I know about this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the know-it-all.
Maybe
And,
the last word
you know,
person.
What's that?
Maybe the last word person.
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? It's neither good nor bad. It just is.
Mm-hmm.
It just is. But we just want to point out that that is a thing.
Yep. It is a thing.
It is a thing. Okay. So we're going to finish this up by talking about something interesting in the thumb, which is actually, let's see if I can get my thumb on here.
I don't have one, but I would love one.
Well, I
Or
didn't have
would
one
I?
either when I was younger. I'm going to try and move my head out of the way so I can get, see if we can.
Keep your
Okay.
hand out. Go that way. There you go.
Okay.
Go.
So we can see that bulge on the bone of my thumb. Oh gosh, I'm so bad with the camera angle. See, we told you we're going to laugh, and you're just going to go, oh, and this, people, if you watched a few of these, you're probably looking at me going, come on, Leslie, it's about time you figure this out. So you can see I've got this bulging angle of the bone here. Not everyone has this.
No.
And I will tell you that I did not always have that. That is something we call the golden throat, because it's on that throat section of your thumb. And the golden throat is an indicator of someone who is able to influence. They're a good speaker. What else would you say about the golden throat?
They have something to say. There's a message and they have to get it out.
Right.
They attract attention. Like,
right.
They're there to actually be the speaker, to be the, I wouldn't say leader, but the person that has the voice.
Right. And they can be working in any field, but I just happened to pick two of our presidents who were known, because there's a lot of photos of them out there with their hands up in the air, who were known for being good orators and getting their messages out and having people be moved by their messages. So we have Bill Clinton with a golden throat and Ronald Reagan with a golden throat. So you can see that nice little knob on their thumb angle there. And, actually I went out and looked for some other speakers. Like I looked at the Dalai Lama and he didn't have the golden throat. And I actually looked at MLK and he did not have, he had I want to say he was mostly not, he had a tiny little bit, but not enough for me to want to use him as an example. Okay. And you are probably hearing my dog in the background.
I'm totally ignoring it because I have.
That's my old man.
I was going to say probably some artists or like singers might have this.
Singers or actors.
Actors. I've seen lots of actors have that.
Right. Celebrities, people of celebrities, or people who are giving TED Talks. You might see some.
Yeah, I was going to
have it.
Eckhart Tolle.
Who's that?
However you say that, Eckhart.
Eckhart. Yeah, I don't know. I've never seen a picture of him. Have you?
I think he does. I'm kind of
interesting.
Uncertain about that.
Well, now I'm going to be going out and looking to see who else, when I'm watching videos of people speaking, if they put their hands out, who has one. So, Oprah didn't have one.
She did not. Okay.
No, I thought maybe she might, but she didn't.
I had a reading with a person, and we were talking about their golden throat, and she said, "There's no." I go, are you, you're really interested in music, you should do something, like singing, getting out there and, showing your talents. You have that ability to do that. She's like, I am never going to sing ever, ever, ever. And then like 3 years later, she is like on a talk show as a host on TV. She did
Interesting.
like a DJ music television thing in the Bay Area. And then she moved to doing DJing. And I'm like, see, I wasn't saying you had to be a singer. You just had to do something in music
Right.
for people to hear your voice.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Somewhere where she was having influence.
Exactly. Yes.
Right.
A little influence.
Right. Which isn't necessarily just being a singer. That's
No, not at all.
That's more Apollo ring finger.
Yeah.
But being on stage.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's a great story.
Yeah.
I love it. All right. Well, that concludes our video on whether someone is being straight with you with their communication and how it shows up in the hands. So we're just going to say, if you enjoyed this, if you thought it was funny or weird, leave us a comment. Give us a shout out on YouTube. Subscribe to our channel if you want to hear more of our strange stories or learn more about hands. Join our Facebook group. There it is again. Let's show that. Facebook group where we will definitely interact with you and answer any questions you have. And hopefully you will check out the other videos we mentioned, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.